When you go to learn a new language, you'll notice that most people think that they can get away with the listening and the speaking. And with the listening and the speaking, you can get a certain level of results. But to truly be fluent and to take it to that pro style level with a new language, you need all four. You need the reading, the writing, the speaking, the listening. You need all four of these to really become fluent and to really put yourself ahead of other people with a new language. And the listening and the reading parts are more passive, right? Listening and reading are more passive things. The writing and the speaking are more active. This is where you're involved, you're taking action, you're involved in the activity, right? Reading and listening, it's something you can sort of do on your own. But writing and speaking, you're fully involved in this thing. But all four of these are required to become truly fluent in a new language, and this full immersion style of learning is always the most effective. It's always the best way to go. And your line of work, whatever thing that you're working on, whether you're in online sales, you're working in digital marketing, you're an entrepreneur, your line of work also has a language to it. And there's a level of fluency that's required to go pro in your line of work. And it's pretty clear when you look around at your competitors, you look at yourself. It's pretty clear the people who are fluent in that language. It's pretty clear the people who have a high level of fluency in your line of work, in the way that they speak, the content that they post. When you watch them speak, you read their writing, there's a different touch to it, there's a different element, a different level of fluency. You can tell they're getting in a different number of repetitions behind the scenes. And it's because they're hitting this line of work from the big four, instead of just two, right? Instead of just two. Most people want to get away with speaking and listening. Well, the people who are really fluent, becomes clear very quickly that they're doing all four. They're reading, they're writing, they're listening, they're speaking. They are fully immersed in their line of work. And you notice the level of fluency. When you have the big four, when you're looking to go pro, when you have the big four, you very quickly put yourself ahead of your competition. It happens very quickly. Because you're practicing 4 different methods. You're training yourself in 4 different ways on your work instead of just 2, like most people. The listening and reading are passive ones. But if you have a consistent writing and speaking to a camera practice, let's just put it that way. If you have a consistent writing practice and you consistently speak to a camera, you are going to put yourself so far ahead of other people in your work. Because you're listening, you're reading, you're writing, you're speaking. This writing practice, along with speaking to a camera practice, this is what packages this thing up into just a powerhouse for you, where you become very fluent in your line of work. You become fluent like it's your native language. And this happens exponentially. And when you start meeting with people, when you start having conversations, when you start making content, you start writing online, you start making videos, you start speaking with other people that are in your line of work as well, it's going to become very clear who is fluent and who is not. It's going to become very clear the people who are just being passive in the background and the people who are actively involved in getting better. And when you get on calls with people, when you meet people in person, you will feel light years ahead of other people, just in plain old conversation, just in everyday conversation, speaking on your topics, speaking on your work. You're going to feel light years ahead of other people. And even in your confidence, your energy, your tone, your conviction. It's like this thing, it's like this level of fluency that happens because you studied. Because you didn't half-ass it. Because you studied in 4 different ways. And when you study in 4 different ways, that's where you program the thing into you. That's where you just embody it. It just becomes part of your DNA. The information just gets programmed into you. And you just know it. You just know it. You don't even know how you speak the language. You just do. It's the same feelings you have when you learn a new language too. At some point when you go to learn a new language, you just start speaking. And you don't even know like where it comes from really. But you realize you've done it long enough to where it just comes out naturally, I guess. And that's where you start to feel that level of fluency. Because you studied in 4 different ways. Not only do you do the passive ones, reading and listening, but you actively write and you speak. And if you have this writing practice combined with this speaking to a camera practice, you're going to be able to comb through these thoughts. You're going to be able to become highly fluent in your line of work, and it's going to reflect in everything that you do. The quality of your work is going to skyrocket exponentially because you're training yourself. You're studying in 4 different ways, where most people just study in 2. Most people think they can just get away with 2. Right? The listening is easy, reading is easy. You can do those things in the background. The writing, the speaking, those are a little more intimidating. When you go to speak a new language for the first time, it's a little intimidating. You don't want to sound stupid. You don't want to mess up. You don't want to put your face on it. But in your line of work, of course, if you're trying to be fluent, you got to put your face on it. You got to study out here in public. You got to speak on it in your content. You got to write about it out here in public. You got to study in 4 different ways. You got to read it, you got to write it, you got to listen, you got to speak it. True fluency, full immersion. That's what you want. If you're looking to go pro, you want full immersion. And the number of repetitions will be obvious compared to your competitors. The quality of your work, the way your work just glimmers for some reason. Your writing has a tint to it. Your content has a tint to it. The way you speak has a tint, a conviction. And the number of repetitions that you get in the background and out in public, it will be obvious.